In the near future, Earth is slowly dying because of all the damage humanity has caused and people are desperate to escape. One day a giant black sphere appears out of nowhere near Mars, so 6 astronauts are sent to investigate on a spaceship called Achilles. For 8 months the crew spends the journey in hibernation. Carla keeps dreaming about her daughter and her mother, who tragically died in a car crash 2 years ago. When there are only 8 hours left to reach the sphere, the crew is woken up. While they take a moment to stretch their muscles and clear their heads, Carla notices that Ruben is rather rattled because this was his first time hibernating and she advises him to rest. However, Ruben prefers to blog his experience since he has a massive amount of followers. Afterward, Carla meets with Commander Paul and they try learning more about the sphere by scanning it, but the ship's AI can't find anything out there. Kara thinks they should go back, but Paul wants to finish their mission anyway. The lack of data makes Ruben even more nervous than he already is. The crew decides to contact Vance, the head of the expedition program, who tells them people on Earth are eagerly waiting for an answer to the mystery. They can't disappoint them, so the mission must be completed. Sometime later Carla starts hearing her mother's voice in the corridors, but she doesn't see anyone around. At the same time, Ruben is startled awake by creepy whispers in his room. When Carla gets to her room, Vance video calls her, saying he's worried about her because she's been looking tense. As Carla assures him she's fine, the call is suddenly cut off and the ship's AI announces the sphere is causing an anomaly. Carla runs to the main deck and finds the mysterious sphere shooting a very bright beam of light at the ship, which is causing various issues in the system. The rest of the crew also runs to the deck and Tez points out the light seems to be a way to show the ship where to go. As the ship continues to get closer, the AI picks up a noise coming from the sphere. When Carla analyzes it, they decode a message that repeatedly says DEUS, which means God in Latin. Ruben panics and asks the crew to go back before he runs out of the room. Carla thinks they should pause the trip and wait until the AI fixes the comm so they can inform Vance of this in case it's a hostile alien, but Paul decides they'll keep going. Afterward, the crew checks on Ruben and finds him crying in the corridor. He's still panicking and says the light is Judgment Day sent by God, which he knows because the voices told him so. Ruben asks for the mission to be cancelled again before he leaves. Then the crew discusses their theories and Ulf thinks it's their duty to find out what the sphere is. If it turns out to be an alien trolling them, they can just blow it up. Paul is following this on the cameras and calls Ulf to the deck to tell him not to mention blowing up things ever again. When the ship is about to reach the sphere, both Carla and Ruben start hearing the voices again. Ulf takes Carla to her room and she explains she's been having headaches since the car crash, but she doesn't mention the voices. Their talk is interrupted by Tez, who informs them Ruben is missing. Ignoring Ulf's concerns about his health, Carla joins the search. The team splits and Tez gets to check the cargo bay. Hidden behind some containers, Ruben is surrounded by lights as he does a ritual to please the voices in his head. His skin is getting carved with a bunch of religious symbols. When Tez finally finds him, she screams in horror, so Carla and Ulf run to find her. Unfortunately, by the time Carla gets there it's too late. Tez is dead on the floor with her guts out. Ruben notices Carla spying on him, so he takes her hostage, threatening to kill her too when Ulf arrives. Sounding desperate, Ruben says they're beyond redemption and if they land on the sphere they'll be part of God's slaughter. He also claims that Paul is obviously hiding something, so they should take the ship from him. At that moment Paul appears behind Ruben and shoots him without hesitation, instantly killing him. Then he tells Ulf to get 2 body bags, not showing any emotion regarding the loss of 2 crew members. After grabbing Ruben's knife, Carla follows Paul into the elevator and asks him if he really knows something. Paul denies it and gets angry as he senses she wants to quit the mission, but he reminds her that orders are orders. When they arrive at her room, Carla snaps and calls Paul out for behaving so coldly about their fellow team members' deaths, but Paul just walks away. Instead of body bags, Ulf decides to put the bodies in their corresponding hibernation chambers. With only 3 hours left before reaching the sphere, the crew separates the main Achilles frame and stays in a smaller ship to navigate through the sphere more easily. Carla notices some kind of structure on the sphere but can't understand what it is. When the ship finally lands on the sphere, the comms begin working again and the crew gets a call from Vance. He informs them that 10,000 unidentified structures like the one Carla saw have appeared on Earth, but they don't seem to be invading. Vance is convinced the sphere is behind this and wants the crew to solve the mystery as soon as possible. Paul orders Ulf and Carla to go out to investigate, but Sean points out they'll need a scientist and volunteers to go as well. The trio suits up and leaves the ship while Paul watches them on the cameras. The sphere is completely dark so they can't see in the distance, and Carla's scanner can't pick up anything. When she touches the ground, she says it isn't an element known on Earth. Paul sends them to check the structure and by seeing up close they realize it's a gate. Suddenly a bright light starts glowing inside the gate, so Ulf fires a flare to take a better look at the rest of the structure. They see a symbol known as Event Horizon, which represents a boundary in which events can affect an observer. Carla calls it the end of existence and scans the gate, confirming it's made from the same material as the sphere. At that moment the crew hears a weird noise, which shouldn't be possible in a vacuum. Paul tells them that the ship's AI picked up a transmission and is sending it to them through their communicators. This transmission says welcome. When the light begins glowing brighter, a woman appears in the middle of the gate. The woman is sending out messages with her mind and the AI translates them for the crew, revealing that this being claims to speak for the creator of all existence. This creator has come as a warning and to help by giving humanity a choice. Those who enter the gate will find eternal peace, and Carla was the chosen one to show them the way. Inside the gate they'll find the end of all suffering and pain, but those who choose not to enter will die when the sphere reaches Earth to destroy it. Suddenly the woman turns into Carla's mother and tells her that someone is waiting for her inside the gate. A shocked Carla walks into the light and has a flashback about the car crash before finding herself near a golden city with the accident wound still fresh on her head. Her daughter is there and Carla runs toward her, but before they can reunite Carla wakes up on a table in the ship. After having a seizure, Carla throws up and wonders how she got there. Ulf explains she could barely stand when she came out of the gate, so he brought her back to the ship. Unfortunately Sean didn't make it. Their conversation is interrupted by a call from Vance, who wants to know all the details. Carla tells him about the Golden City and compares it to Jerusalem, causing Ulf to call it heaven. She doesn't mention her family even when Vance keeps asking questions, not believing her when she says she saw nothing else. Once the call is over, an irritated Paul leaves the room and Carla asks about Sean's death. Ulf explains his suit ruptured and Carla doesn't believe since their suits are made of a material that doesn't break. Then Ulf says Sean didn't secure his glove correctly and he decompressed, but Carla doesn't buy this either since Sean was a very experienced explorer. A very suspicious Ulf reminds her that everyone makes mistakes and tells her to rest. Carla wants to explore the sphere again, however Ulf informs her the ship is already leaving and follows her out. When they reach a corridor with no cameras, Ulf asks Carla what she really saw inside the gate, so she tells him about her family. She also explains she doesn't trust Vance and Paul because it seems they're hiding something. Moments later Ulf returns to the deck and Paul asks him what happened when he and Carla were out of the camera's reach, but Ulf tells him Carla said nothing new. Paul gets suspicious and reminds Ulf to respect his orders. Once the ship is out of the sphere's orbit, the AI announces the crew should be ready to hibernate in 1 hour. After grabbing Ruben's knife, Carla goes to the pods and checks Sean's body, especially his suit. Next she breaks the lock to Paul's room with the knife and goes inside to search for clues. Paul sees her on the security cameras and sends Ulf after her. In Paul's room, Carla finds a gun and some very interesting files. Soon Ulf appears outside the room and Carla stops him by pointing the gun at him. Having read the files, now she knows he's a former elite corps soldier and used to be known for being the best. However, Ulf explains that was left in the past and swears he doesn't know anything about the sphere. Carla forces Ulf to go back to the main deck, where she points the gun at Paul instead. He points out this is mutiny and the punishment is death, so Carla retaliates by revealing that Sean was killed by a gunshot. She thinks Ulf did it since he used to be a hitman. The tense moment is interrupted by a call from Vance, who promises he isn't her enemy and claims all his scientists believe she truly saw heaven. He also plays a video showing people on Earth gathering on the streets, desperate to leave the planet after having seen the footage of the sphere Vance broadcasted. Carla is left in shock and Paul uses the chance to jump on her. After some struggle, Carla manages to push him off and shoots him in the chest to kill him. Then she notices she got hurt during the fight and her stomach is bleeding. After Vance hangs up, Carla points the gun at Ulf, who admits he did kill Sean. However, he doesn't want to kill her because he also wants to know the truth about the sphere and what she saw. Deciding to trust him, Carla lets Ulf take her to the infirmary and bandage her wound. Once she's feeling better, Carla admits she wants to go back to the sphere, but Vance controls the AI. Ulf reveals he has the code to override the AI, but they would have to drop the heel since the Achilles is too big to control manually. They'd lose the main propulsion and their trip back to Earth would take more than 5 years. Carla is losing hope, yet Ulf has an alternate plan up his sleeve. Then Carla returns to the deck and calls Vance to tell him she'll destroy the sphere if necessary, since she believes it's a lie. Vance activates some classified files that show her the element she found on the planet, revealing he was the one who built the sphere. There's no God, he did all this to save 6 billion people and kill the remaining 15 because Earth is overpopulated. There's no God in the gate and the sphere can't actually destroy Earth, it was all a lie to make people panic and cause them to run toward the gates that appeared all over the planet. They thought they were entering heaven, but they were actually walking to their deaths. Carla doesn't understand how this could make her hear her family, so Vance admits he installed a chip in her head after the accident, which was also his fault. Everything has been part of his plan to train Carla for this trip. A crying Carla calls Vance a monster and shares a tale her mother used to tell her about how everyone deserves a chance to survive. At that moment Ulf contacts her, announcing he's got his hands on the Achilles core. Vance realizes the duo is planning to destroy the sphere and orders the AI to begin the ship's auto-destruct sequence. Alarms start wailing and the AI announces that the Achilles will explode in 3 minutes. Carla furiously shoots the hologram machine to end Vance's call before contacting Ulf, who gives her the code to separate the main ship from the huge cargo structure. Ulf is still stuck in the elevator, which doesn't move fast enough for him to return to the main ship in time. He tells Carla to leave without him and at first she refuses, but at that moment the self-destruction is triggered and the Achilles begins exploding at multiple spots at the same time. Carla has no choice but to separate the ship and watches in horror how all the explosions destroy the main structure, thinking her friend is dead. However, Ulf suddenly contacts her, revealing he crossed over at the last second. Afterward, the duo celebrates their survival with a drink, and Ulf explains that since they lost half of the Achilles, the detonation of the core will have to be done manually. Carla accepts this and says they'll do it together. However, when the ship lands on the sphere, Ulf closes the door behind him and tells Carla to go back to Earth so she can tell everyone the truth. Carla leaves on the ship and shares a final goodbye with Ulf, who waits until the ship is far enough to detonate the core and destroy the sphere at last. Carla is now traveling alone to Earth, and the AI informs her that the trip will take 7 years. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.